Hi, it's Chris Watkin here, back with the next ICG webinar, and today we are going to be talking about CRM integration. I know it's not a sexy subject, but it's absolutely vital that your CRM is your lifeblood that brings everything together in your estate agency, and data is key. So the important question is two-way integration between CRM providers and their partners important to estate agents? And what I'd like to do is go back to Matt Goddard, who's from Reapit. Let's talk to you, Matt, about why you think two-way integration is so important. And before we could start is, why is two-way better than one-way? And could you explain the difference to us thick people as estate agents?
Having been a thick estate agent myself, it's always a good starting point. Two-way data integration, or even better than one-way, obviously reduces the silos of the information being stored within different applications, but also from a estate agency. You don't have that rekeying of data, or to use a term that gets laboured sometimes, the chair swiveling, inputting by people into the two different applications. And becoming more and more prevalent to us as an industry as you look at things like the portals, bringing in diary functionality, whether it's Rightmove's viewing functionality, or it's Zoopla with their smart viewings, or some of these competitor portals with diary functionality as well. If there's not two-way, then you lose that single view of what your schedule for the day is.
Okay, so in layman's terms, previous to this, some CRM systems were one way, where data went from one to the other, but it didn't go back the other. Are you saying that your platform at Reapit, which everyone seems to be talking about, I can never remember the name, is it KISS or something? I'm sure you'll tell me which one it is a two-way street? Is that right? Is it called KISS?
Absolutely. It's foundations, or you mean PAS?
Yes.
The platform is, so even if we talk just about the single element, the API element of the platform, it's definitely two-way, and it's two-way over and above the core schema of what everyone knows as the RPS system historically. What I mean by that is you can store data within our platform that isn't there normally. And it's obviously a big factor to have that two-way. And yes, we have historically been read-only and not necessarily write back unless it's specific integrations, but the point of foundations is to move away from that and to help the ecosystem with the different technology partners.
Okay, let's go to Trevor Youens, who is from MRI. Trevor, Matt's been awfully using some technical language. What does it really mean to estate agents?
I mean, Matt and I are aligned on this really, and we're generally aligned in the industry in terms of what this whole open and connected message should look like. We've advocated this for years, and actually the PAS message from Reapit, to their credit, is actually helping the entire industry to drive that messaging forward. And I've quoted in the press as saying the same thing. There was a bit of a so what element around integrations for years, where even agents, and I come from an agency background, is it really that important? And the chair swiveling comment is exactly right. The whole double keying issue is probably the biggest factor to this. You don't want resources using, all their time putting things in two places and then they don't talk to each other. So you've got to have that to and fro. What you also need to do, you don't need to reinvent the wheel with this stuff. One of the challenges we've found for years with integrations is providers have come to us and said, we need to see everything, we need to replicate everything. You really don't. What you need to have is a share of the relevant parts of your data to that particular prop tech solution at that time, and avoid the double key. When I look at Rob's on the call, our integration with Callwell, it's a fairly simple touch, but it does away with the double keying issue. And that's your first step. Then you go into what Matt's talking about, is a far more embedded type of integration, similar to what we've got with, say, Fixflow, where it's a lot more interactive, sharing supplier information between the two systems. So if you try and go all the way day one, you won't get there. You need to establish a benchmark and move from there.
Okay, thank you for that. I've got three people that want all put their hands up. I tell you what, I'm going to say something is that you prop tech firms are very good at telling people what it is and not what it does. And if you just said our prop tech solution will mean that you haven't got to double entry, you're on a winner. I could just scream at most of you. Okay, let's go to Bradley, then I'll go to Ben, and then we'll go to Rob.
Thanks, Chris. There's a reason why Amazon, Google, Facebook have such high valuations. It's because of the value of data. Now, when you have your two-way integration, what it means is that your various activities in the business can come together so that you can get an overall view of your data and get maximum value out of that. So for example, if you wanted to measure the effectiveness of your contacting your clients, your lead generation service with your text messaging service and your chat service and your phone services, you want to measure how, when you put a campaign out, how quickly someone responds and where they go in that customer journey. And that gives you a value that you can measure. And that's the value of your two-way integration.
Okay, thank you for that. Let's go to Ben Sellers.
So, I mean, firstly, I'm absolutely delighted that Reapit have done their foundations and that MRI have opened their API and all the other CRMs out there that are following suit, because it really does mean that we can go from being a little sort of dumb and disconnected to be fully connected, start having some, you know, really great engaging correspondence, but both from a business side, from an agent side, but also their customers. So we found ourselves being in a position where we can now actually work on attribution, as Bradley was just saying, meaning that we run a campaign, say in Facebook, all about driving leads. And instead of me being able to tell my client that they got, 14 valuation requests, in time, I can actually tell them how much money they made. So I can tell them that you got this many requests, you got that many calendar bookings, you got that many instructions, and you sold them for that much money. And that to me is super exciting, just as an example.
I love this guy. I love this guy, Ben, because I'll tell you what, he just puts it into the language that estate agents understand. Let's go to Rob Wellstead, who up until recently was running a huge letting operation in Hertfordshire. Rob, what have you got to add to say this?
Well, Luton as well. Don't forget Luton, Christopher.
No, sorry, no, Luton, no, sorry.
No, thank you for that. I mean, we used Callwell for triaging the data. So we didn't always feel that putting every single lead that we received straight into your database into your CRM was the way to go. So that was one of the reasons for creating Callwell, because it gave us an opportunity to triage that data into one place. And then we called it a token-based API to push across those individual leads when they, I'm going to use more terms. So we used a sort of just a packet of data would go from Callwell across to the CRM. Is that okay for you, Chris?
It's great for you prop tech people, but I scream at, using such technical language with estate agents, which are the ones that are watching this. Basically, Callwell screens out the good from the bad and then puts the good stuff into the...
One lead at a time, if you want. You can do either. You could send one lead across to your CRM. As you book the viewing, or you want to book the viewing, you click a link and it sends that one lead across to your CRM. Or you could send all of the leads across to your CRM, or perhaps your email marketing software that you're using, whether that be a sort of Brief Your Market or I don't know who's in the letters in the estate agency industry you want to recommend, but you could send everything if you wanted to. So we found our customers would do both. They would send a token-based, just one packet of data, one lead at a time, to the CRM, and then they would have another platform where they're sending everything to, and that would be where they'd be doing emails.
Last 20 seconds with Kristjan Byfield.
So look, I'm going to answer this one with my agent hat on. I mean, I've spent 5 years sort of shouting from every corner and pillar and post I could do about clamoring and wanting an open environment where integrations readily happen, and it's really exciting, for an agency like us that uses about 18 different products, very few of which are integrated with our CRM. Obviously those products have value in our business, but where you get that perfect experience is with an integration. And the fact we've now got an ecosystem where startups can just as readily plug in as established 5-10-year-old businesses, that's really exciting.
So really, basically what we're saying is Reapit and other CRMs that have open APIs means you can pimp up your CRM and actually make it work for you. Thank you for your time today, boys and girls, and I hope you found that absolutely useful out there in the state of the agency. Thank you.